we can achieve amazing things if we work together. But if only it was that easy. The truth is that getting things done with other people is often difficult, and sometimes it's a complete nightmare. My name is Richard Watkins, and I'm a lifelong collaborator. As a scientist, a creative problem solver, and an artist. And what I've learned is the same thing that you already know. It's that we don't really have a lack of important projects to work on. We don't really have a lack of goodwill to work with each other. But what constantly gets in the way as we try and get things done is group dynamics. Now, this is kind of funny because we are group animals. We're born in groups, we live in groups, and pretty much everything we ever achieve is done in groups. And yet groups cause us grief. Group dynamics suck up a huge amount of our energy. Now just imagine if you could use that energy to get things done. The truth is, it's quite hard to look someone in the eye that you're working with and say, our relationship isn't really working. Or, oh, I've lost motivation for this project. That's hard. It's like messy conversations. And so instead, we just talk about tasks. And most of the time, that kind of works okay. But sometimes, we get stuck. As a young innovation consultant, I had had my fair share of projects that didn't go perfectly. This photo was taken in New York in 2009. It was easily the most significant project of my career for one of the world's biggest brands, and I just got a big promotion to do the project. It didn't go a little bit wrong. It was a complete disaster. The actual content of the project was simple stuff, not hard. But I spent 9 months drowning in group dynamics. I was completely out of my depth, and nothing that I did worked. And I'm sure you have your own stories. But what it did do, and I think what personal failure can do, is offer us some new direction. And for me, I became obsessed with how groups work and how we can get groups to work better. And I was looking everywhere for wisdom: psychology, anthropology, philosophy, sports, personal development, everywhere. And it wasn't a theoretical exercise. I went on to work on over 75 collaborative projects in over 20 countries, working alongside some brilliant people who I learned from. How were they navigating groups? My art practice also took a collaborative turn, and the mix-up was a project with 41 artists from 6 different cities. These are the guys from Istanbul. Along this journey, I kind of picked up a few things, or I realized a few things. And one, when I was younger, I spent a lot of time around engines. And what I realized is that a lot of our language for getting things done is very mechanical. So we talk about optimizing outputs, driving efficiency, fixing what's broken. But human group is absolutely nothing like a machine. And a much more helpful metaphor for us is to think of a group like a garden. So we want good things to grow, right? That's the goal of a group. That's why we're working together. But the process is never straightforward. It's never perfect. And there's always, whether you're talking about a group or a garden, there's always something that needs attention, right? The attention that we put on the problems that we face in groups is finding the right conversation. And an important mentor of mine pointed me towards this quote, and it's become really, really important for me. A problem is only a problem in the absence of the right conversation. Because we are actually much less stuck than we imagine. And we've all had an experience where we've been in a group or a team, and we think that everything's falling apart and everything's going wrong. And then suddenly someone brings a conversation that somehow releases the pressure, that opens up possibility, and that offers us a path forwards. And that is the power of finding the right conversation. All this talk of gardens, this is actually my garden in South London. And it's the scene of a really important realization, and that is after reading and kind of working in lots of groups, what I realized is we do not need more tips and guidance and prescription of how we should work in groups. What we need is a new way of looking at groups, new ways of seeing. And what I started to see was a pattern in amongst all the complexity. If you like, there was a rhythm behind the noise of what it takes to get groups working well. And what I created was a compass for collaboration, a kind of way of thinking about how groups work. This is a really important moment to say that this discovery completely changed the direction of my life and is why I'm standing here. But you can't be a collaboration expert on your own. So everything I'm sharing is very much a shared journey working with others. But this model has got 5 sides, and that's because there are 5 simple human dynamics that flow through every group that's trying to get something done. And these 5 dynamics point us to 5 conversations that we need to be having to get our groups back in balance. The first dynamic is belief. And this is about purpose, about vision, about where are we headed. Why is it the right time to do this? Why is it worth committing to? And you know what it feels like, don't you, when there's belief in a group? There's togetherness, there's commitment, and there's optimism. But we've all also experienced it when belief is drained. There is apathy and negativity. And apathy and negativity are the signals that we need a conversation about belief. The second dynamic is much more practical. It's about structure. So this is about what is the plan, what is the timeline, what is the scope, what resources do we have, who's got responsibility for what. And structure can go wrong in 2 ways. Obviously, we can have complete chaos, no structure. But we can also have structures that are so rigid that we can't move. And in our groups, what we're looking for is a structure that is balanced, that leaves us clear, calm, ready to adapt to whatever comes our way. The third dynamic is involvement. And involvement is about saying in every group, the whole point of working in a group is that we want diverse perspectives. We need to illuminate this problem that we're facing. So that means we need the right mix of people involved. We need to get an outside perspective. We need to make space for diverse opinions where we can genuinely listen to each other without worrying that we disagree. And when involvement is out of balance, what do you see? People disengage, they get defensive, and they feel disrespected. But if you can get involvement working well, then people are curious, and they're open to others. And this is when creative ideas start to flow, because everyone has their place in the group. The fourth dynamic is progress, making decisions, moving forward, trying things out in the real world, navigating a bit of conflict for the sake of getting stuff done. Who's been in a group where there isn't enough progress? How does that feel? We feel stuck. In fact, it's boring. And it's infuriating to be in a group that's stuck. But if you have the conversation that unlocks progress, there's a rush of excitement, and we feel determined and willing to sacrifice. The final dynamic is care. And care is about the human relationships that we're building as we work together. This is about team spirit, staying positive through ups and downs, giving honest feedback even when that's difficult, learning together, having each other's back. And if you don't have care in a group, or you don't have enough care, it falls apart. But if you take a group and you invest in care, what do you build? Resilience, and a deep commitment to deliver for the sake of these people that you're working with. Belief, structure, involvement, progress, and care. These are 5 dynamics. They're 5 lenses that we can look through at the groups that we're part of. They're 5 frequencies that we can tune into. And the heart of working in a group is presence. Presence is really showing up. Now, we need to be present to what it is that we're trying to get done. That's the point. But we also need to be present to the dynamics of the group and present to what needs our attention. Present to the conversation that we need to find to move things forward. Presence is also about moving beyond our own tendencies, because we all have tendencies. For me, I'm really at home in involvement and progress. So I love like complex ideas, multiple perspectives, creativity, and I also love action and making things happen. But talk to my team, and they'll tell you that sometimes I don't put enough attention on structure, and that causes its own that shows up in the teams that I'm part of. And you know the New York project I was telling you about? 2 things were really missing from that project. Belief, understanding how the project fitted with all the other things that were happening, and care, strong alliances, and especially honest feedback about how things were going. So what about you? I'm interested. A couple of these dynamics will really resonate with you more. You'll think, yeah, I pay attention to that a lot, and some less so. So I'm interested in which dynamics you naturally pay most attention to. We're going to put our hands up. Who naturally pays attention to belief? Yeah, very purposeful. What about structure? Yeah. Involvement? Ooh, a lot. There's a lot of involvement. Okay. Progress. Oh, those hands were so firmly up. It was like very strong, decisive hands for progress. And what about care? Yes, okay, so some people who recognize that relationships are the key to getting things done. The truth is, all these dynamics matter, and we need to pay attention to all of them. But if we were collaborating together, there was a little bit more involvement and a little bit less belief, right? So we would need to remember, if we're working together, absolutely, let's listen to all the perspectives, and we're at TED, right? That's what we're doing. But let's connect with the purpose that we're there for. This is how it works. Let's get practical. There's no such thing as a perfect group. You can't get all these dynamics perfectly in balance. There's no such thing as a perfect garden. But what we can do is have enough of each of the things for the sake of what we're trying to do. And we can pay attention to the right thing at the right time. Let's say you're in a group that is crying out for structure. We need a plan, we need clarity, and everyone keeps talking about belief. Or you really need to hit a deadline, and you need progress, but instead there's more and more involvement, more perspectives, more ideas. It doesn't work. You need to pay attention to the right dynamic at the right time. It's a simple framework that allows things to grow. And what's good about it is it allows us to have conversations about group dynamics that don't turn it into a massive drama. We've been working with this model and seeing how it works. And so I'm kind of confident that this works in whether we're talking about teenagers in a Liverpool school getting better at project work, the leadership program for a global bank, or an NGO in the Philippines. The theme for TEDxRoma is Esperanto, and it's a language project that has 3 goals: to be easy to learn, to connect people internationally, and to be a living language. Now, this approach shares those goals, because whilst individuals and organizations and cultures have our own biases and tendencies towards these dynamics, our groups go wrong in the same 5 ways. It's the same 5 dynamics that are flowing through any human group that's trying to get things done. And if we have those conversations, the conversations that we need to have, even the most stubborn problems we face can start to soften. This stuff's always most fun, not in the abstract, but when it gets tangible. And so think of a project that you're part of, or a team that you're part of, something that you really care about. How are the dynamics? How's belief? Have you got a clear purpose, and is that shared across the group? Are your structures working for you? Are they giving you calm and clarity? How's involvement? Have you got the right voices? Are you hearing from everyone? Making progress? Moving from discussions to actions and proposals, trying things out? Are you investing in the relationships? Because that's what's going to build resilience in your team. Our work is getting things done in groups. And to do that, we need to be present. We need to look and see if we can find the conversations that can move our groups forward. Because we can achieve amazing things if we work together. And however stubborn they feel, however fixed our problems are, with the right conversation, they can loosen up. Thank you.